Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. And welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. Hold on. Voice caught for a second, sorry about that. After our adventures in Age of Innovation last week, we're debuting a brand new game on the channel, as I was in the mood for a good dungeon crawl, so we're going to play D100 Dungeon tonight. Just like it sounds, it's a dungeon crawler where we're taking a character through a dungeon that we generate as we go, looking for treasures and completing dangerous quests in the vein of a D&D, except we'll generate everything for the dungeon as we go. We'll also generate our character as we go, so we'll go through creating an adventurer here. So we've got 3 characteristics used in the game: strength, dexterity, and intelligence. So we have 50, 40, and 30 points that we can assign. I'm going to create a wizard. So I want 50 intelligence, 40 dexterity, and 30 strength. Hero path, as I mentioned, we'll go for a sorcerer. Then write in the path, which is... Where's the path on here? It's not back here. So we've got the spellcaster ability that's unlocked at 50, where we can unlock the spellbook and can use and learn spells. And I'm trying to find out here where our option for the path is. I do not see it on here, which is actually kind of irritating. Current quest. Well, our current quest is definitely going to be the introductory quest. Where is the path on this sheet? Write it in the box provided on the adventurer sheet. Okay. Alright, well, we'll just make a note up at the top here. Sorcerer, so we've got spellcaster unlocked. Race, we're going to be human. Which also gives us some modifiers. Since we're going to be human, that gives us plus 5 intelligence and minus 5 dexterity, along with plus 5 awareness. So plus 5 intelligence brings us to 55. And what was the other one? Minus 5 dexterity, so 35 and 30. Okay, before the adventurers started exploring, they gained a few extra skills other than those provided by their hero path or race. Choose any 2 skills that don't have any skill bonuses and add plus 5 to those. We're going to take locks and traps. That's plus 5, okay? We'll bring the dice tower and shot as well, since now we're going to be rolling for our initial equipment. So now we roll once on the W table, and I'm going to keep all of my tables off shot, which is the weapons table. So we've got a D100 for that. We'll debut these new black dice I got on the channel tonight. In the tower. That's a 52, which a 52 gives me a falchion, which is a one-handed curved blade. Falchion, which will let me do plus 1 damage. Damage is plus 1. And then we roll 3 times on table A for armor. We have 3 times on table A. which presumably is armor. Yep. Okay. Let's see what we pull for armor. $69. That is male hand wraps. Which doesn't seem like it would make any sense for a caster to have male. Let's see, armor value is A2. That'll probably make more sense later. Next roll. Is a 21, which is good for leather arm guards. Leather arm guards, given A0. Probably something to do with combat. But let's see what our last roll is. And I believe if we roll for something that we already have... either keep the new armor or roll again. A 41. Studded leather chouses. I probably just totally pronounced that wrong. And that detail comes from the location slot shown. So bear with me a second while I get all of this sorted out. Let's see, studded leather chouses. That's an A1. Okay, value on the chouses is 89, sells for 18. The leather arm guards, 66, sell for 14. The male hand wraps, 167, sell for 34. Okay, and then what do we add next? We add 20 oil, 10 food, and 15... let's see, backpack. So we add 20 oil. I think we went with 10 food and 15 picks. Probably lock picks. And 3 lesser healing potions. Okay. Then finishing touches, we get to set everything up here. So we add 20 primary health points. So 20. One rep, probably a reputation. 3 fate. And 3 lives. Looks like there's GP for, what did we say, 20? No, we don't have any gold yet. Okay. So yeah. Now we can... okay, looking at Spellcaster. Once the Spellcaster ability becomes active, the adventurer may use spells they've collected in the spellbook with an int level equal to or less than their current intelligence characteristic. See the spellbook section, which we don't have any of those just yet. Okay. Right. Okay, just going through everything here. Okay, I think we are all set to get into this one. So I've got my character sheet. I've got a handy reference over here, so let's jump in. First thing we need to do I printed a turn tracker, I thought. Wonder if I printed it, but I didn't bring it in with me. Yep, never mind. I've got it in here. Okay, so we adjust. So the quest we're taking on tonight, we're taking on the introductory quest. We are taking on, we want to enter the dungeon and loot 3 parts from the monsters there. So we've got an encounter mod of -40. Quest encounter mod -40. S is probably plus 50 gold points. Succeed is plus 50. Fail is -0.5. Okay. So now we shade in a time. Since this is our first turn of the game, we only have 12 time on our character sheet, which is down here. We immediately have to spend an oil or suffer -20 to all characteristics until 1 can be spent. Fortunately, we are starting in the dungeon, so we've got 19 oil. Okay, and then this is the very first turn. So we do roll up. So we've got our sheet over here at the bottom. Might be a little bit hard to see, and I'm going to do everything in pencil. Actually, this is very much falling apart on me. So yeah, I think we're just going to have to deal with that. So now we go over to step 3, which means we are rolling on the mapping table, and we're going to place out our first room. Find our mapping table M, which is a D100 roll. And we'll make this our initial starting space. I'm going to do everything in pencil so I can erase everything if I need to, and I've got a set of colored pencils over here as well that I'm going to use. I need to create this room as best as I can. But as I mentioned before, my artistic talent never got far past stick figures, so we'll see how this goes. That is an 83. An 83. Looks like we've got a green room. So let's see if I can draw this out. Bring this over here. So we've got a... Let's see, looks like we've got... I'm going to try to mark this as best I can. You're probably not supposed to use grid paper for this, but it's what I've got handy, so that's what I'm going to use. Let's see. Looks like you curve like that. Then you curve back. Up like that. Then there's a little piece out here. There is a door over here, so we'll be using that as our door. Then, looks like it's jagged. Okay, and the rest of that, looks like there's a corridor up to the north. So I'll grab my green pencil and color all of this in. As we've established repeatedly, folks, art is not exactly my strong suit. And it looks like there's supposed to be a little bit of a corner right there. Okay. So that's my first ever room that I've rolled up in D100 Dungeon. Put that back in there so I can keep that all organized. Greens restrict movement. So now we roll on table G for what's in there. Let's see, that's a 32. And 32 is a cave-in. Uh-oh. The entire ceiling begins to cave in. Luckily, the adventurer manages to find a spot that is protected from the falling rock and waits it out. As the dust settles, it is clear that the entire area is now buried in rock and all the exits are blocked. After some considerable time, the adventurer manages to retrace their steps and returns to the area they were last in. Add 3 time and mark on the dungeon sheet Cave-in G32. For the rest of the game, this area is out of bounds and may not be entered. Well, so the problem here is if that area is just out of bounds. So how do we end up with that? So we mark off 3 more time. And then the third time requires a roll on a D10. If equal to or less, roll on table E. So we're looking for a 4, and we're looking for higher than a 4. That's a 7, so theoretically we're all clear. But now I'm trying to figure out how I want to handle this. So what was step 4? Step 4 is search that we can search. So I think the way we're going to have to do that, I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to move up. We're going to move up in the room because I don't want to just get pinned in here and have that be the end of the scenario already. So we'll move up to the next room and see what we get there, which will bring me back to table M. If I do more with this on the channel, I'll have a few of these sheets printed out, so I've got quick access to them. So the problem is this room is now caved in. A 62, that's going to be a yellow room, so theoretically nothing there, which means we could go to step 4. So let me draw up 62. Let's see, okay. So we're going to curve it about like that. Then it's going to curve around to the left. Then the rest of that is going to come up. It's going to be jagged, but that's kind of a rough idea. I'll show you the room once I get it drawn up in a second. Oop. So there's our second room. This is our corridor that's going to bend off to the right over here. So now we could search this room, and searching is step 4. We search each area once per game and hunt for anything of interest. Player rolls a D100 on table F. Table F is a D100 roll. Okay. That's an 89. That's going to be problematic. Behind a broken cupboard, a hole is found carved into this dungeon wall. Peering inside, the adventurer finds a treasure. Roll on TA. So I'll mark that we've searched this. So now we get to roll on the treasure table. So TA, here we are. Another D100. That's a 17, which is an objective item. An objective item is found that may be required for a quest. Check the current quest's details. If it's not needed for the quest, it's instead a fine item worth 100 gold points. The problem is for our quest that we're We're on dungeon training. We're trying to loot 3 parts from the monsters there. We could call it one of the parts in theory. I guess that's what we'll go with here. So 1... Maybe it's something a monster left behind on a previous quest. I don't know. But that's what we'll go with. So for that, there was no time adjustment on the path. So now we roll again on the mapping table. And table M once again. So now we're on... So now we're on the room that curves over to the right. I probably should have made this a lot bigger, but hindsight, as they say. Also, my first time playing this game and putting it on the channel, so yeah, live and learn, right? A 38 is going to be a red room. That's, I believe, an encounter room. Yep, that's an encounter room. So actually, we're adjusting time as well, which means we have to spend another oil. Okay. Now that we've got that sorted out, that brings us back to our 38, which is mostly an open room from the looks of it. So let's see how I want to do this. I'm going to have to turn this. I have to turn this room. Actually, it looks like what I can do here is be pretty... Well, I don't necessarily have to turn it. It looks like there could be... In theory, there could be an exit to the... Actually, it looks like there's exits any direction. So I think what I'll do here is I will use this room. Actually, we'll do this. Okay. I think I know how to draw this now. So we'll go up like that. And then this will stretch over here. We do need a... No, we don't need a door on that. It looks like this. So the wall... Actually, no, there is a little bit of an opening, so we'll leave that for an opening. All right. Okay, that'll ridge up. About like so. Then there's a little bit of an island in there. We've got another exit coming out of the room. And we'll go with that. And there's our first encounter room. So now we roll on, so now that since this is a red table, we roll on the encounter table, and we've got a minus 40 on the encounter modifier, since we are on a training quest. So minus 40. A 3 would drop down to a 1 anyway, so we've got giant rats. Excuse me. So we've got rats in here that have 25 attack value, no defense, minus 2 damage, 322, whatever that translates to, and table P2. And Disease and Pack are the special abilities for this. So Disease, when they score a natural 1 on their damage dice, inflict the adventurer with disease, and the player shades in 1 pip on the disease track. Disease track is down here, okay? Even if the monster doesn't deal any damage during the round, when the track is refreshed, or when the time track is refreshed, must roll a d10. If the result is equal to or less than the disease pips, the adventurer suffers HP equal to the number of shaded pips. And in pack, adds +5 to its attack value. So how many are in the pack? Okay. Oh, probably the number of... Probably on kill, the number of parts it looks like. Okay, so now we get a combat round. Roll a d10. So it looks like we start combat. I've got my d10s over here, and now I need the combat sequence for the time being. So let me grab that. Let's see. There's a name, attack value, defense. Player checks the section marked K for kill. Okay. Alright. I thought there was a section on here, in here for combat. Here we go. Okay, so we roll a d10 on the monster reaction table to determine its action. So for the first round, a 2. Monster damage, actually 2 is monster is less than HP. Its HP gains attack hit. Wait, what? If the monster has less than half its hit health points. Wait a minute. Okay, so monster has less than half its HP. So it's got all of its HP, which means it looks like... So let's see about making an attack. So we have to roll a D100 and have to equal the adjusted strength. I have to adjust the strength or dexterity value. The falchion, I probably should have checked the falchion when I started the adventure, but I'm pretty sure the falchion uses strength as its attack stat. And of course, it's not going to tell me. Type is still not helpful. Oh, hand weapons use strength. So the falchion is a hand weapon. So we've got to roll a 30 or below on an attack roll with the falchion. Which that's a 25, so that will be a hit. If you go to step 4, so we roll a damage die and the location die and the hit die. So we use a d10 and the d6. Presumably the d6 is going to count the number of damage. Yep. And the adventurer's damage modifier. Then deduct the defense. So the rats have a defense of -2. So probably has next to no defense then, I would think. The stronger monsters probably, yeah, the stronger monsters look to have more defense. So it looks like we do 1 damage. Looks like we do 1 damage to the back, presumably. Yep. Okay, so it looks like 1 damage. So 1 damage to the rat. I'll grab another die. Actually, I've got 3d6 here. So it looks like we've got 3 rats in this pack. So 2, 2, and 2 to represent all of our rats. Then the rats will each make an attack. The rats need a 25 or lower to hit. So first rat misses with a 98. Second one will hit. And it'll do, let's see where it's going to strike. Let's see, 3. Actually, that first rat we did 2 damage to that first rat, but we are taking 3 damage to the torso. Actually, 4 damage. So I don't know how the rat got up there, but apparently it did. Then the last rat, I'll actually just roll the D6 with the D100. Actually, no, I do need to roll that separately. That's a 47, so that one will miss anyway. Okay, roll both the damage dice, yada yada yada. So we start a new combat round. First we see what they're looking to do this round. Let's see, that's a 1, so now it'll gain attack value plus 10. So the first rat is actually lashing out here. Plus 10, so we need a 30 or less to hit it. That's a 93, that won't hit it. It will hit on a 35. That's a 40, so now we're back to 25 for the other 2 rats. That's a 36, and the last one, a 13. That one will hit. Rat does -2 damage. So one damage to the main weapon. Well, main weapon doesn't do anything. So 1 - 2 is actually 0 damage. So never mind. Now back to us. So first we see what it's... So actually, first we see what the monster's doing. 9 monster damage. Last round it will attempt to escape. None of them were, so they will just make an attack from the looks of it. So let's see what we do here. That's a 36, which is not enough to hit it, so that's unfortunate. Back to the rats. That's an 11, that will hit. And that'll do 1 damage to the... That'll actually do no damage to the feet. Still not very happy with that, though. Rat 2 will miss. And rat 3... 76 will miss. Actually, wait a second. I gotta look at something here. What was Pack doing? Pack at the start of each round adds +5. If an encounter has 4 monsters still alive, they get +15. 3-2-2, okay? Right. So each monster is still alive beyond the first adds +5. Okay, so all these rats have +10 on their attack value. Back to the start of a new round, though. That's an 8. Monster has less than half its HP. It'll attempt to escape. And we are going to... Are we going to block the escape? Yes, we're going to try to block the escape. See if we can hit it. We need a 30 using the falchion. That's a 14, so that one will hit the first rat, and we will deal. Let's see, we also deal +1 damage with the falchion. So we deal 1 + 1 is 2 damage to the off weapon. So that rat's dead. This one takes 1 damage. So we cut off the escape. And then that... Presumably, the monster attempted to escape and has remained. Start a new combat round. So the other 2 now try to attack, and they've got now +5 attack value. So 30 on the rats. So with rat 2 now. Nope. Rat 3. No. Okay. Back to the start of a new round. That's a 4. Monsters are attacking. Okay, so we're doing... Once again, we need 30 to try to hit. That's a 74. We're not hitting that. Rat 1, or rat 2 now. 37, no hit. Rat 3, well, technically rat 3. Doesn't hit either. Back to the start of a new round. 5, it's attacking. I think I'm starting to see a little bit about something I'm not going to like about this game. 72 is no hit for us, by the way, so both monsters are attacking. That's an 84 no. And just barely no. But, well, we might have to try to attack. We might have to try to escape here. Let's see, a 1. Monster has less than half its HP. It'll gain HP plus 10. Or AV plus 10. Trying to escape is a... Oh, block escape is a separate test. I think we're going to just keep attacking. Because we need these monster parts. 61's no attack. So the first rat is AV plus 5, plus 10 total. So 35, that's a no. Rat 3 is also a no. We'll see what the monster's doing, but 6, it's attacking. So we will attack as well. That's an 89. So what I'm seeing that I don't like here, I'll finish up the attacks and then I'll continue this. And I'll continue with this thought. No and no. So what I'm seeing here that I'm starting not to like about D100 Dungeon is you might end up getting stuck in a room for a long time, especially if you've got a low hit roll and none of the enemies seem to want to die for you. I don't know. And plus there's definitely narrative here to pull out of this game, but I'm just having a hard time getting anything going out of this one. I think I would like this one better if there were more ways to mitigate the dice. But given that it is a dice chucker, that's kind of the nature of the beast here. Anyway, we're going to let this combat rounds go a little bit longer. We'll see how long this takes to get me out of this room. It doesn't help that my sorcerer's got a low attack stat because I put 30 strength in. And we don't have any spells to start with. 33 is just barely no. 25 is a no. And no. 4, they're attacking again. So we will attack. 51, no. 54, no. And 53, no. Yeah, I'm just going to call it here because I'm officially at a point with this where I'm just not having fun with it. I feel like we've gotten stuck in too much of a grind here where I don't feel like I can really get anything going here since we've kind of gotten stuck in this first encounter room. Like I said, I could theoretically try to escape. Actually, let's try that for grins. Let's roll another round. 7 monsters are trying to attack, so we are going to try to escape. That's a dexterity minus 10. When the adventurer escapes, they don't get an attack roll. Or a combat action, we have to pass the escape combat test below. So it's a dexterity minus 10 test. Yikes. So we're at a 25 to try to escape. That's a 79. So yeah, we can't even escape this round. They get an attack. That's a 9, so that one will hit. And 4 minus 2 is 2 damage to the back, which actually plus 2 damage modifier cancels out the minus 2 that the rats normally do, so that's another 4 damage. And the other rat doesn't hit. But yeah, I think we're going to call it here, because I feel like I'm running into a problem where maybe I just need to get luckier with the dice and actually start rolling low, but you can very easily get stuck in a room where you're trying to roll the dice and potentially get into a situation where you just can't get out of the room no matter what you do. So I think we are going to tap out here and call that an adventure. We might do more with D100 Dungeon on the channel, but that remains to be seen. Anyway, that will do it for this playthrough of D100 Dungeon. Got a lot of great stuff coming up on the channel. Friday, actually, we'll be playing Slay the Spire, the board game, by... Who's that one by? That one is by Contention Games. I've actually never played the video game. I have played the board game once before, though, so this will be an interesting experience. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will start out of the World of Warcraft New Flavors of Azeroth cookbook with the appetizer. I just typed everything up, and I've got my iPad in here where I can see what the appetizer is going to be. Because I can't remember all this stuff off the top of my head. Oh, that's right, fried cheese dumplings. Saturday, we're going to continue scraping off rust on the hockey systems as we play another game of Inside the Crease Hockey by Inside Sports Games. Sunday, we have another new debut on the channel as we're playing Silent War 2.0 by Compass Games. Wednesday next week, we will be continuing with the debut tour on the channel as we play Dice Nuts Golf. We're going to hit the links for a week for a more relaxing video. Thank you for watching this video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone. Okay.